Good evening, everybody. If you could take your seats, we're going to get started in a minute. Testing, testing. You guys let me know when we're good for the Zoom as well. I'm just going to walk up front here to do our land acknowledgement. Welcome. We begin by acknowledging the land and all those who have and still live on it. As we are on this land, we have a responsibility to take care for it and the life and community it nurtures. We are on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat. Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaty, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. This land has long been the home of Indigenous peoples. Not far from where we are meeting today is Tabor Hill, a Wyandot burial ground. There are remains of an Iroquoian village site at Brimley Road where it crosses West Highland Creek. Another larger Huron-Wendat village site is north of Lamoureux Park. Today is home to diverse communities of Indigenous, Inuit, and Métis people. Many generations of people from around the world have come to this land, and many people continue to arrive and are welcomed. The acknowledgement of this land is not just words. A land acknowledgement is a commitment to care for this land and the people who live on it. The councillor we elect will have a role in caring for this land, for the people who live and work on it, and this relationship with the Indigenous peoples of this place. We make a land acknowledgement knowing that it shapes who we vote for and how they will work. All right, good evening and welcome everybody. My name's Tanya Brookmuller. I'm a longtime Ward 20 resident and I am your volunteer moderator for tonight's discussion. I want to start just by acknowledging all the volunteers that are here today making tonight happen. Special thanks to our AV team who worked right up to the very last minute. DJ Kyle donated his time and his equipment. So if you need a DJ, he's your man. I will do quick introductions of our panel. I'll start on my right here. Corey David, if you just want to raise your hand. Walayat Khan, Kevin Rupasinghe, Sumay Roy, Marzia Hoque, Parthi Kandavel, MD Mamun, and Jessica Hines. Thank you for all taking time to be with us here tonight. So just a reminder, we do have some house rules, some rules of engagement for all of you here and for our panelists. One person will speak at a time, please. Please only talk about yourself and not about others. If you talk about others or over others, that tells us a little bit about you. We have a timekeeper in the back. There she is. She's going to let you know when you have 30 seconds left. If you go over your time, DJ Kyle will cut your mic. And lastly, we're expecting everyone to be here. We want everyone to be respectful and heckling will not be tolerated. So let's begin. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to introduce themselves and tell us why why we should check their name on the ballot. I'll start on my left this time, so we'll start with you, Jessica. Yep, very good.
I can stand up. Am I allowed? Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Well, hello. Oh, sorry. Hello, neighbors and fellow Scarborough enthusiasts, distinguished members, and am I too close to? Is that okay? I just wanted to echo. Okay. Of our community and fellow candidates. I am Jessica Hines, and I'm honored to be here and introduce myself to all the wonderful people of Scarborough Southwest. My journey has been one of learning, service, and a deep connection to this community. While getting ready for this introduction, I must admit something. That is, over the years, I've been a receiver from this wonderful community. Plus, having meals, diner, or just
Microphones so the people online can hear you.
Oh, okay, because it cut out. Okay, sorry. Or taking part in track and field at Birchmount. I've enjoyed the benefits of this place, and I believe it's the time for me to run for a simple reason. I've dedicated much of my energy and time to supporting Scarborough as a whole, but Scarborough is where I call home and it's where I've grown up. This community has shaped me, and now I'm here to give back. I was born in Toronto, but I've spent most of my life in Scarborough. I have a master's degree in international business, and beyond the books, I am an athlete. I'm a lover of sports. You can catch me playing all kinds of sports, from volleyball to basketball, or even ball hockey. The values of discipline, teamwork, and perseverance I've learned from sports are at the heart of my approach to public service. In my campaign, I represent a vision of Scarborough Southwest where equitable housing, strong leadership, and inclusive communities combine to create a sense of unity and belonging for all. I believe by working together, we can address the challenges we are all facing. Transit is a big one. I know the daily frustrations many of us face with our public transportation. I'm on a mission to improve our transit systems, making sure that they are reliable, accessible, and affordable for us all. Secondly, affordable housing is another top priority. I know so many of us are feeling the squeeze of the rising living costs, housing woes, and my mission is to level the playing field, making sure everyone has a safe and affordable place to call home. And lastly, public safety, of course, is crucial. We all want to feel secure in our community, and I'm dedicated to working with local law enforcement to ensure that our streets are safe and that our neighborhoods are welcoming and crime-free. So thank you for your attention, and I look forward to with you about my vision and hearing your thoughts of how we can work together in making Scarborough Southwest an even better place to live and thrive. Thank you.
In terms all right, why don't we go to MD Mamun? That might work.
Hi, good evening, everybody. So today we have a time frame of 3, so I'm gonna go a little faster. So if you have anything hearing problem or anything like that, please, ask me afterward. I pass my flyer to you. It has everything in it. Now, I wanna say something about me. So it has to be my background, why actually I'm running for it, and what actually I'm looking forward to get. So those 3 things actually I wanna tell about it. So let's start. My name is MD Mamun. Actually, I'm Bangladesh origin, but I migrated from Australia 2008. So I am a healthcare professional. So I have Doctor of Medicine from Washington University of Health Science. I have Masters of Public Health from Australian Catholic University, and also I do have a Bachelor of Nursing from Australia, and also have Postgraduate Health Science Diploma from Australia, and also I do have a physiotherapy background from back home, and also I am the ex-Notre Damean too. This is my educational background. So also I have a political background too. More than 12 years actually I have learned Canadian politics, how actually it works, how actually it look after the Canadian people, how actually the system is works. That's how I learn forward. So now I want to say something about it. So about 15,000 of doors I actually knocked this time, and what actually I get from the community, that a lot of people coming from overseas, they actually do not know the rules and regulation, and the people from our neighborhood, they are complaining about like the safety, road crossing, and also the bugs is growing and the rats is growing in the community. So how actually need to stop it? They are actually asking for it, because I've been to the several places. They are telling us these things is happening. They don't want to blame the government, but they have that issues. So that we need to address that one. And secondly, as a medical profession, I would like to tell you one thing. Like marijuana is different from general marijuana. So we need to understand why I'm telling that one. So the way the marijuana is actually going to the young generation is not, actually doing very good with their brain system and their development. Need to think about it, how actually we handle it, who actually is the victimite in our family, in our neighborhood. We know what a pathetic scenario is going on in your, society. So need to think about it. And finally, I would like to thank all of us, because the time is up. I have my flyer with me, so I'll distribute it to you. If you have any concern, anything like that, please come forward and ask me. I will explain to you. So because due to the time limitation, I can't go more than that. And sorry for that inconvenience. So if you have any question, I will stand outside. I will deliver my flyer, so you can ask me and clarify what actually I want to do it. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for the time. Thank you very much.
Over to you.
Good evening. More than 35 years ago, my family chose Scarborough as our home, and I couldn't be more grateful. I often think back on my time growing up, going to school here, getting my first shot at teaching at John A. Leslie, and now raising my daughter here with my wonderful wife, Anu, in Oak Ridge. Scarborough has changed a lot since I was my daughter's age and continues to change at a rapid pace, despite the fact that the people here have not been consulted. I'm standing in front of you today because enough is enough. Some of you may recognize that slogan from my campaign last year, and I find myself in the unfortunate position of having to repeat it because nothing has changed. Gun evictions are on the rise. We see inappropriate rezoning like the Sun Valley, no different than the Greenbelt scandal, which saw us lose a community institution. I'm reminded of my time battling the gun eviction of Lenmore Court. When the proposal was first drafted, we were upset, knowing full well children would lose important relationships with caring teachers and their friends, which is precisely why I fought so hard as the school trustee with the Birchcliff Residents Association to have that proposal shut down. We lost that battle, but now the innocent residents of Lenmore Court are being uprooted from their homes. Soon, there'll be 12 stories casting a shadow over Birchcliff. Lenmore is our canary in the coal mine. Sadly, this will not be the last gun eviction we see here. We've seen historic immigration over the last couple of years, and Scarborough is getting the bulk of it. There's absolutely no question we need new housing. We're not against all development. We're against bad development. We need to see that housing prioritizes livable, affordable, and walkable communities with the necessary amenities. Development that leaves all of us and our community better off. The people making these decisions don't care about Scarborough. We've seen that for 25 years since amalgamation. This is why we need a strong voice at City Hall. I have that strong and independent voice. And it's why my 21 former colleagues at the TDSB trusted me to be the chair of the budget for the last 3 years, knowing I would treat all neighborhoods with the same care I would my own. It's also why they elected me to be the chair of the single most important decision in the board, the hiring of our one employee, the Director of Education. In my 8 years as your trustee, I learned how to listen to you, move effective motions, and further our local interest. Now is not the time for on-the-job training. I'm the only candidate with elected public service experience that allows me to start the job on day one. Thank you.
We're just going to test this one. Yep. That one at your table. There you go. Marzia.
Good evening. Thank you everyone for joining here tonight. Thank you, son, giving the opportunity to be here. I'm Marzia Hoque, a proud resident of Scarborough Southwest. I'm a single parent with 13 years old daughter. My daughter born here and we both grew up here in last 13 years. Bluffers is the most favorite place. I completed my Bachelor of Social Science in 2007 and achieved a Police Foundation's degree from Canadian Law Enforcement Training College. Following which I began working with Coastie Immigration Services and helping new immigrant and refugee. As a volunteer with Toronto Police, West Park Hospital, Salvation Army, I always see people are suffering for a lot of issues. So very recently, the issue is affordable housing, cost of living. I see my lot of friends start doing Uber Eats. They're trying to help their husband to pay their mortgage, utility, and property tax. They can't sleep properly. They're having a nightmare dream to losing their lovely home. If you go on Kingston, all the way to Ajax, all the motels became shelter. What a horrific situation in our city. They can't afford their rent, cost of living. Same thing to me, I barely afford everything, but no luxury things in my life. So when we are facing all these issues, the same issue, everyone, I have a dream to do something for people, to do something for my neighbor. That's why I'm running this election. If I get elected, I will say no tax that increase the threaten raising our all these issues, fighting for tenant to stay their homes. I will fight for province to make more affordable housing. Besides this, I will work for safer transit, public transit, safer street, and social and health issues. Also for park and recreation. But I cannot do alone all these things. That's why I need your support. I need your vote on November 30th. And then advance poll will be 25th and 25th November. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening me.
Thanks, Marzia. Okay, Sumay.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Sumay Roy, and I'm running to be your next councillor for Scarborough Southwest. For those who don't know me, I started in the beginning of pandemic when our community was really hurting. Literally in my backyard, I started Feed Scarborough, where and I don't know about you, but I thought it'll be just for 2 weeks. The curve will be flattened and we'll be back to normal. But 3.5 years later, now we serve 7,500 people every week. And the reason I'm saying this, because it is really important for your next councillor to actually demonstrate, not just future tense, what we are going to do, that what we have done for our community. When many people abandon the community, what have we done? And it wasn't me who did it alone. It was tremendous amount of community members, like some of you sitting right in this room, who selflessly came out and helped and stood up for the community. And I take the credit because I've got the mic and they don't. But the reality is, okay, there's this. See, I'm getting excited with the mic closer to me. So I'm really excited, but I'm also the chair of the board of directors for Scarborough Arts, where we have actively worked on equitable arts funding all across the city and especially in Scarborough. When I took over 4 years ago, we were way down on art spending out of any jurisdiction in GTA. Now we are almost in par with many other jurisdictions. I've worked with all levels of government to make that happen. This is my second term on the Board of Health for the City of Toronto. At City Hall, I work at the Board of Health, bringing many motions forward, working with councillors and citizen members. One of the files that I strongly championed was student nutrition, the breakfast and lunch programs in school. And during my term in 2011 to 2015, I was very successful in getting funding from the province to push that file forward. So I've got the experience on negotiating with different levels of government, experience in City Hall, actually working in different motion, working with councillors, getting it approved. And today I'm coming in front of you to say this one thing. Today you're going to hear from all of us about different policies we believe in. But I always say that as a councillor, it is irrelevant what we believe in. We are just one person out of the 75,000 people in this riding. It is actually what you as a community believe in. And as a councillor, my goal will be to make sure that you're properly and meaningfully consulted. It doesn't matter who I am or what I believe. Your voice needs to be there in City Hall. With that, thank you and hope to count on your support.
You can take me.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to the organizers for putting this together. I know how much work it takes to put an event like this on. Thanks for all the candidates who've joined as well. It's a lot of work to run for office. And thank you to everyone who's joined us tonight and online and out in the hallway. Really appreciate everyone who's tuned in. So my name is Kevin Rupasinghe. I'm running to be the city councillor here. I live in Cliffside, proud to live in Cliffside, just down the street, a little bit past Rosetta McLean, live here with my partner. She and I love it here. We love everything about Scarborough, the people and the nature, the culture, the food, all of it. This is where we want to raise our family. But part of why I'm running is because sometimes it is hard to feel like there's a future in the city. It is so expensive to live here. It is getting harder and harder to move around. The better future that my parents envisioned for me and my sister when they immigrated here, like a lot of newcomers do, I don't think people share the same optimism that they did back then. It's hard to see that better future that they knew existed. It's a shame because I love this city. I love it here. I want to be able to stay, but too many of us, we're feeling stuck, right? It doesn't matter if your name's on a mortgage or a lease. Being able to put a roof over your head these days is way harder than it should be. There's folks who, it's getting harder and harder to move around in our city. It doesn't matter if you're taking public transit or if you're navigating our roads that are dangerous and crumbling apart. And far too often, I think we don't feel as safe as we should in our community. And it's a shame because I know we can do better. We absolutely deserve better. Now, I'm lucky. I come from my background professionally. I work in cities engineering. So this is what I do professionally and what I understand through my education. How do you make cities that are more livable and sustainable? How do you make sure people can move around? How do you use your land in cities so they're actually built better? That's what I do for my day job. But I used to do a lot of advocacy in our community, speaking up, working together with community members, pushing through life-saving measures at City Hall to make our streets safer, pushing City Hall to actually invest in better transit. So I know how things are done at City Hall. I've had the chance to affect a lot of change there, and I have a track record of success, but I've started to realize that, you know what? There's only so much I can do on the professional side. There's only so much I can do as a community organizer. At some point, you need the political leadership. And I'm personally motivated to see our community thrive because I live here. This is where I want to raise my family. I believe that this is a city where we can actually have everybody find a home that they can afford. I believe this is a city where everyone can safely and quickly get to where they need to after we've fixed our roads. And I believe this is a place where everyone can feel safe and welcome in their communities. And honestly, we need to be able to take bold action on the climate crisis that we have so that we are a sustainable and resilient city. So we have something for future generations. I know all of that's possible, but we need a new generation of leaders to move us forward. We have to leave behind some of the ineffective approaches of the past. An open council seat is a rare opportunity that we have to actually take our community in a different direction. We did this before back in 2018 when my friend and our MPP Dolly Begum was sent to Queen's Park to represent us. I want to follow in her footsteps and be the champion for us at City Hall. I can't do it alone, and hopefully I can count on your support. Thank you very much.
Walayat.
Thank you very much. My name is Khan Walayat. I am a worker. I am still worker. I am always worker. I am a unionist. One time the city of Toronto have a taxi advisory committee. It was an election and I was elected as a taxi advisory committee member back in David Miller time. It was 8 members. 7 of them for minority community elected because the cab driver vote, that's the category. And the city of Toronto never called the election again. It's only one time because of 7 members of minority community. They never call again. It was a David Miller, the mayor, it was NDP, but they never call the election again. How they hate us. That's what I believe. I worked 3 years with the city councillor. We recommend them. I still worker. I work with the CAW, 416, taxi union. One time we succeed, next time we fail, and they fire us. This taxi company fire us. That's what we are here. That's what I am here for worker. I still working. I'm licensed mechanic. I work as a mechanic too. I'm a real estate agent. I build a house in Scarborough. I live in Scarborough, 3099 Danforth Avenue. I know how to tackle these houses. I know how to go to get the permit. If you apply the permit today for your house, it's 2 years. It takes 2 years to sitting the table of the bureaucracy. They call red tape. It's not red tape, it's more than that. Your city council doesn't work. Your bureaucracy is a work. Everything is going to city hall. City council don't care. They say, send to the staff. And that your permit sitting there for 2 years. How are you going to tackle this housing? If that same permit you apply today, 2 years is sitting the table of the planner, bureaucrats. That's wrong. It's supposed to be not that. We should pay the money to our planner, the private sector, and they stamp it. They are the same engineer as the city council. And you got a permit within 90 days, we can tackle the housing. It's not going to work. Trust me, the city councillor sitting there 30 years, father, son, daughter, they hire their own people, they hire their own family. I have a proof of that.
Okay, I think we're at time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Khan.
And God bless Canada.
Corey, go ahead. Sorry about that.
No problem. Thank you so much for everyone coming here and for this event being put together. It's much appreciated. I'm Corey David. I've lived in Scarborough Southwest for most of my life and lived in Toronto for my whole life. After high school, I started working in group homes and at the TDSB, supporting people with intellectual disabilities. Then I went to Georgetown College and for electrical mechanical engineering and got a job as a machinist working in metal fabrication for another 7 years, 5 in Vaughan and 2 in Scarborough. And just last September, I got hired at the TTC as a streetcar operator. So I've been doing that for the last year. About 7 years ago, I sort of became a political activist. I met an organization called Socialist Action and got involved in all kind of political activity, anti-war, Palestine solidarity, land back, and the worker struggles through the union movement, standing on strike lines, supporting workers. This city is beautiful. Scarborough Southwest is beautiful. And, you know, we're losing the ability to live here, unfortunately, as many people have mentioned. And it's, we're not tackling the source of the problem. We're all trying to say that, a lot of people are trying to say, well, I'm not going to say anything, but what we need to do is target the source of the problem. Housing is supposed to be a human right in this country. And people should be able to get a roof over their head no matter where they come from, how much money they have, you know, and people in the city, quite frankly, are being extorted for a place to live. We have a crisis. There are people, the homeless population, the underhoused population is growing across this city as more and more people are squeezed out. We need to bring back social housing. We had great cooperative programs in the 90s. We need to bring that back. I've heard no one mention that in a very long time, and that should be the standard for housing in the city. We need to We need to go after the sources I mentioned. Landlords profiteering from people's necessities is not okay. And the city who represents the people that live here should be standing up for those people and not allow people to be predatory on them, to be predators taking advantage of them. Same thing with work. A lot of people are exploited low wages in this city, especially with the rising cost of housing and food and other necessities, or even just things that people require to have a decent quality of life and have dignity. All those costs are rising, and the wages are not keeping up. And there are a few people profiting off of the misery and the servitude of many. And we need to challenge that. That's this government, that's what the government should be doing. Should be representing the people and should be trying to look out for them and make sure that they have a good life. Everyone who comes here can be a resident of Toronto. We shouldn't be turning people away. We there may be a lot of immigration, but we can accommodate that. There are unused units that we can take advantage of. We shouldn't be allowing them to sit empty. We shouldn't be allowing people to live on the street and die on the street as they do. Anyways, I'm running for a working class government. That's what I want to see in the city. That's what I think we need. I need the community to express what they need, because I'm only one person who lives here and I don't see every angle of it. Anyways, I think my time's up. So thank you so much for giving me a chance to speak here. Thank you.
Thanks, Corey. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to move to a group discussion table by table. So each table has been randomly assigned a theme. Each person at that table will have 2 minutes to answer the question for that table. And then we've allotted some time for a little discussion. So we'll start with table 1, which happens to be Corey's table. So the question that I have for you is, if you were elected, what does success look like to you in the first 90 days, the first year, and then the end of your term? So try and provide some tangible and relatable examples. You don't have to go first, Corey, but you can, and then you'll have to each have 2 minutes.
So before each of you speak, the people online.
Again, this is Corey David. In terms of success in the first 9 months here, I would like to get rent control put in place and control on rent evictions, so that if people either leave their units or are forced out for whatever reason, that the cost of that unit cannot be raised above guideline. I'd like to put a rent freeze in where it can't be raised at all. That would be a goal. I don't know how tangible that is given the rest of the makeup of city council. So that'd be a goal for the first 9 months, to introduce legislation of rent control. I'd like to, in the first year, I'd like to propose a cooperative housing model for the city to adopt, for it to take over properties that are not being used for permanent occupancy, that are either sitting vacant or being used for temporary vacancy. I'd like to put into place mechanics to make that happen, so we can get social housing built in this city. There are ways we can do that in terms of getting funding to purchase the property if necessary, through levying taxes on like mansion taxes or multiple unit taxes if people have more than one house in the city, or units as an individual. I don't think people need more than one unit in the city. Everyone needs a place to live, and we need to make that happen. So that's what success would look like to me. I don't think that I could accomplish those things within a year or a year and a half right away, but I want to get the ball rolling on that stuff, and that's my answer. Thank you.
Thanks, Corey. So I think what you're saying is, by the end of your term, those are some of the things that you'd like to accomplish. Okay. Walayat or Khan, you can go ahead. Same question for you. What does success look like for you in the first 90 days,
Thank
the
you
first
very
year,
much.
and the end of your term?
Okay, I have received a license, and when I went to get a license, there's a problem with the getting the permit. There's too many, every block have a different zoning. You know, the zoning where you can build 1 house, 2 house, 3 house, 5 house. And if you apply the permit for your extension of your house, you're gonna take 2 years to get a permit. How are you gonna tackle this? So if I'm elected, I will give this one same, we're gonna have a private permit to give to the examiner and architect to private. So I can recommend the city to give to the private people. They are also same engineer and architect, and they can stamp your drawing if you apply and give you the permit. We don't have to go to the city and sitting there on the bureaucracy table for 2 years. The 2 year is too long to get a permit. You can't build a house in overnight. It takes time. But the same people, you pay the money to get a drawing, the zoning, this is the same qualified people sitting in the city. If the city cannot give you the permit with the 90 days, it's supposed to not. This should be go to the private people. They give you the permit of 90 days, and there should be every unit have at least 4 or 5 unit. Like every house should have at least 4 or 5. Like in Vancouver, they have a 4 or 5 unit. They approve already. So if you have a one house, it's like 30 by 50 or 40 by 100 a lot. You can build a 4 or 5 house there, and 4 or 5 family can live there. Well, why not? Why
Okay,
is
Khan,
there-
we're at time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin, over to you. Same question. 90 days, first year and end of your term.
Sure, and it's 2 minutes, is that right?
You have 2 minutes, and then we have a couple minutes built in for a group discussion within your own table.
Gotcha. It's a very interesting question. I mean, to me, success, the vision that I have for where our community is one where people can safely move around, where they can get access to jobs and opportunities, where they can quickly and reliably get to where they need to, where kids feel they can get around on their own safely, one where everybody has a roof over their head and they can find a home where they can afford, one where we are turning the tide on climate and where we're heading, that we've taken such a long time to actually recognize as an issue. All of these are big issues. They're not going to happen overnight. I'm not going to pretend to you that we can fix all of this in 90 days or 1 year. But 90 days from now, we'll have gone through a budget cycle. And I think it's very important to us that as a community that we've had the chance to sit down and identify some of our priorities as a community and then actually push for those things at City Hall, because your budget is where you determine your priorities. And we've been making the wrong things a priority for far too long. That's happening in the next 90 days. 1 year from now, I think there are very tangible actions the city could be taking to make sure that far fewer people are injured and killed in collisions here in Scarborough. You may know that nearly half the pedestrian fatalities in the whole city, the entire city, happen east of Victoria Park in Scarborough. I want to see a year from now that we've actually reversed that trend. And 3 years from now, I want people in our community to feel hopeful. I don't think we feel as hopeful today as we should. I think 3 years from now, we might feel that. And all of these issues that I'm talking about, they are not little check boxes or they're little points in time. This is about a trend, about a pattern, about a direction. All of that will take time. And we are facing the consequences today of decisions that were made 5 or 10 years ago. But I want to start turning things around. That's what success looks like to me.
Thanks, Kevin. Okay, so we have a few minutes built in for you to discuss within your own group here at the table. It sounds like housing seems to be an issue. If you could perhaps pick one good thing, if your mom said to you, how do you know you did a good job? What would that one thing be?
Sorry, in terms of in terms of running into being in office?
Yes. Yeah. I'm sure your mom loves you anyway.
Sorry, yeah, there's lots, hopefully. Yeah, so if there was one good thing my mom would be proud of me for doing well in office, I think it would be I think it would be putting people in houses and trying to end the crisis that a lot of people are in the city, that the city is in. So if I could hopefully have virtually zero people living on the street, I think that would be that'd be something I could be proud of, hopefully. So I'll say that.
Khan,
Yes.
what's the one thing that you would like your mother to know about what you did if you were elected?
If I am elected, I'm gonna try to fix this housing, this problem. And I have a real estate license. And it's so expensive to live in Toronto. It's housing with $3,000 one bedroom. And I came here is a $400 one bedroom. So that's what I said, we have to move a little bit fast this process to get a permit and build the housing. That's very important. It's 2 years in this technology we have today. Everything is computerized. Everybody knew that the people in the industry, and they should go a little faster than to build the house. That's what my planning is. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Kevin?
I think housing is absolutely the number one thing on everyone's mind. I don't know that we'll see the results after 3 years. It's taken us decades to get into this mess. And so if there's one thing that I would want to make sure after one term we saw, if I didn't see a single more headline about one of our neighbors getting seriously injured or killed in a collision here, I'd be very happy with what I've accomplished in 1 year, because we have far too many of our neighbors. I mean, just up the road, I'm sure you remember, it was a high schooler 2 years ago. I don't ever want to see that happen again. There's very tangible, practical, short-term, effective things the city could do. If I walked away after that, I would be quite happy. While we've also turned the direction on things like housing and other big issues.
Okay, thank you. Timer, we're going to move to table 2. Okay, that's my table. That's you
Perfect.
two. Okay. Most of the candidates have referred to making Ward 20 affordable, livable, and sustainable. Tell us what that means to you and the top 3 things that you think will move the needle to get us there.
Thank you. I think we have been hearing this not only from almost all the candidates, but I've been hearing this from almost everybody at the doors. Affordable to me means a thriving community where the basic human rights are upheld, a basic human right of housing, a basic human right of food, and to live in a community that is safe. So these for me is the basic human rights, and we demand, it's not that we want, we demand that we are in a community where everybody has a place to live, everybody has food to eat. And my daughter, when she walks down to the corner store, I'm not worried that she's either going to get run over or get stabbed or shot at. We don't afford to live like that. So that is kind of what I feel is the basic things that we need in this community. And just to say it long, in my past experience in the last couple of years, I've demonstrated different work, different programs that I've done in this community where we have got youth from high schools and actually put them through training programs and put them through where we have actually engaged them meaningfully so they are coming out of the crime path. We have seen, and of course, with my work in Feed Scarborough, feeding 7,500 people, we have upheld. Is that the solution? Absolutely not. But were we able to give a Band-Aid? Absolutely, yes, while we help them set up their life in the future.
Thank you. Yeah. Don't forget to say your name. Sumay Roy.
Yeah.
Marzia Hoque. If I think about first 3 things, definitely is affordable housing and food problem and safety. We all are agree for those issues. We can't disagree this. Okay, sorry. So first of all, I for affordable housing.
Away from your mouth, not so close.
Thank you. So first of all, for housing, I will say no tax hike and I will look for alternate source for revenue. I will push all level of government to make more affordable housing. The second one, I will help local business to thrive so they can hire more local people, they can survive their life. And also I will try to create more jobs, and generating income sources will certainly improve our affordability. And for public safety, we have to help Toronto Police more. I don't have any plan right now, but when we know the issues, when I will elected, I will work with Toronto Police and I will support them more. Thank you.
I'll just use this mic. Okay, so you guys talked about housing. You talked about food security. Maybe talk to us about what are some of the other things that you think will make the ward more affordable, livable, and sustainable?
So I think one of the things that I talked earlier is actually being consulted and meaningfully consulted, not just a checkbox that many times we see. And it is not me who decides what is the perfect situation for you. You as community members needs to have that voice. And that is really important to uphold that voice. And that is something that I will work with diligently. And if I had the question that that table had, my first 3 months goal would be to actually have process in place where everybody can be meaningfully consulted to make our community thriving.
Maritza, do you have anything else?
Sorry, Marzia. Okay, thank you. So the same thing, we're gonna pass the information to all people. The city has lots of service that people don't know. So we have to inform about them. And so when the same thing, when we know the issue, we can work. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, last but not least, table 3. One of the most common complaints about politicians is that they're inaccessible. Talk to us about how you'll remain engaged in the community and with the community, how and where you'll set up your office, and what commitments you'll make to stay connected with all of us. Do you want to go first, Parthi?
Could you mind repeating the question just one more time very quickly?
Absolutely. Talk to us about how you will remain engaged with the community, how and where you'll set up your office, and what commitments you will make to stay connected with all of us.
It feels like we were just here last year. The conclusion of that was, as many here will remember, it was a few percentage points between the former incumbent and I. And many people were surprised, but we weren't. As a school trustee of the 8 years, I was incredibly accessible. Many others did and do now have party machinery behind us. We had parent council chairs who saw how accessible I was. The role, the salary is $25K. You have no staff, but all the parent council chairs had my cell number. They passed it on to parents when there was issues. I had regular monthly town forums where we brought in the senior staff, the senior superintendents to problem solve and clearly answer questions parents and parent councils had. We had online Zoom forums weekly during the early months of 2020 to ensure parents were up to date about our plans, especially with reopening. We did regular communications, newsletters. That is the same approach I want to bring to City Hall, where we'll have community working groups set up in the first 90 days for all the major developments happening with Scarborough Junction, Golden Mile, Kingston Road, and the Quarry Lands. Having monthly opportunities in an Ask AMA, Ask Me Anything format is something I made a public commitment to last year and this year. It's something I did for 8 years to ensure there's open and clear questions to our senior staff and even the developers on those applications, and of course, on a whole host of issues. Lastly, City Hall, night traffic in Toronto is a nightmare, whether it's the City Hall and increasingly becoming to getting to Scarborough Civic Centre. I will commit to opening a constituency office in the center of our ward, accessible to all in our community to have in-person dialogue, consultation. Thank you.
Thanks, Parthi. MD Mamun. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Once again, my name is MD Mamun. So the thing actually, announced today, inaccessibility, I acknowledge that one. When actually I have done all the door knocking, I've been to the community, and most of the people from the community, they're asking, you guys are, politician. So we don't want to see your, the community leaders or something like that. We want actually the people from our community who actually feels us. So that's the thing actually, I actually get the reflect from the community and the people actually they are talking about the more service. So for my thing is that what actually I can overcome this situation, because I get this type of encounter from the community. They are actually one sense of fed up with, the politician. They're telling us, you the politician, so we're not gonna talk with you. So if you are not a politician, so we can talk about it. Because then I actually mentioned to them, listen, I am a city councillor candidate. I'm not a politician. Basically, I'm a Canadian healthcare professional. So, and then it starts slowly, they open up their mouth, what their need. The thing actually I would like to highlight, so we as a candidate, we as a councillor need to go close to the, resident of the Scarborough Southwest. Then we can find out the actual fact. So thing is that we're not thinking about the, thinking about the actual fact, what actually their need. We have to do those things priority basis, like a human science, human being, human thing. It doesn't actually goes like a plan way. Anything emergency, they have a different type of management. So the city goes like plan wise. Actually, the previous councillor, whatever they have the set their priorities, we have to follow that one. And top of that one, we need to engage our community people.
Okay,
They
we're
need
at
to
time.
bring forward to and get them know what actually happening. If we don't get up, from
Thank
their
you. We're at
things.
time.
Thank you
Time.
very much for listening. So as I mentioned, I do need a little bit more time to explain those things. I have.
We'll have time after.
Thank
So let
you.
Jessica have her turn and then we'll come back. Jessica.
Hi. Sorry, the question again was about accessibility.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. How will you engage with the community? Where will you set up your office and what commitments will you make to engage, to continue communicating with us?
Yeah. Well, for one, I hope that this community will select a candidate that you believe is, sorry, the echoing is annoying, that you believe is personable, that you can actually approach, that doesn't have, you don't feel that there's some sort of hierarchy when you are approaching them. So I feel that the person themselves is important in that process in terms of like accessibility. Secondly, in terms of, one thing that I really appreciate about this neighborhood is the open dialogue, the social networks, your Facebook groups, taking advantage of what is happening here and me implementing myself a part of those conversations in terms of like community engagement, community organizing. Because I think, I also have like a background in social work. So there's the approach of being and meeting people where they're at. So making use of like the digital platforms is like obviously important. Having a physical space. So right now I don't even have a physical space. I'm just doing this remotely. So in terms of getting an actual space, that is something that I can work with you all on in establishing where would be an appropriate space that you guys will feel that is accessible for you to go to, meet up, all that great stuff. And I had an idea and I lost it. I hate when this happens. And I'm so young, I shouldn't have brain fogs. Okay. I was thinking of, but yeah, I'll be there wherever you guys need me. Currently right now, I'm an affordable housing organizer in the Oakwood Vaughan community. And one thing that I'm learning from that city councillor there, which is Josh Matlow, is that his staff is also a part of the community. And so if Josh is not able to be there, his staff is there and there is that ongoing reporting. So I hope to bring that here as well.
Thanks, Jessica. Hold on to that, Mike, because I'm going to ask you guys another question. If elected, who would be on your list of the first people or groups that you would like to meet?
In terms of like nonprofits or just like
No.
in general?
In the community, in Ward 20, who would you commit to meet with first? And I hate to say pick one. So who would be in the group?
Ooh, that's such a good question. The first group.
If you want to hold off, you can
Yeah, is that
defer for
okay?
now. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if Parthi or MD want to
I
answer
don't
that
think-
same question.
Yeah.
Who are some of the people that you're going to meet first if you were elected?
Yeah, definitely. I would like to go back to this the affordable housing and the senior living housing, few more houses. Actually, I've been there already. They have a lot of issues because due to the time limitation, I can explain more about it, but they have their, real issue, health issues, affordability issues, financial issues. They have a huge, and also as I mentioned, bug issues. They are mentioning to them several times. They also, actually a little bit of crazy about those things. This not been looked after since long. So I want to go back to them first. The seniors, I'm not want to say the seniors, but those people actually need them. I want to go back to them first. Thank you very much.
Okay, go ahead.
It just occurred to me. So I will go, oh, yes. The first people that I will be approaching are the people that I said that I will be coming back to and saying hello to. Going through this process right now, I've met so many people and I made general promises to come back and see them, whether or not they elect me or not. And so I'm someone that's very personal and I remember people by name. So I'll be sure to go back to speak to all those individuals that I said I will go back to and just have like a little dialogue with them. So I hope that answers.
Thanks, Jessica. Parthi?
I think the approach is twofold. One, as I mentioned, meeting with all the major neighborhoods to make very clear what's happening in regard to development in their communities. That's been the consistent theme as we've door knocked last year and this year, clarity around what's happening. As I mentioned in my earlier response, setting up community working groups with active residents to get that clarity. What are next steps? What are timeline? What percentage is affordable housing? Where's the community center, park, library? These are the serious questions that many have shared. Simultaneously, as I mentioned, the AMA format, having monthly opportunities for those to meet with me and ask any questions on service, on budget, on city's plan forward, whatever it is. And central to that is being accessible. Having staff like me who live in the ward is going to be critical to that, because when you live in the ward, you feel the impacts. And as a result, that's critical. We haven't seen that in a long time. And lastly, having that constituency office so people can meet in person, kick the tires, check the engine, and be able to have their answers clearly answered. My track record of the school board was definitive. I've put superintendents, senior staff on the spot if we heard roundabout answers that did not answer the question. And that's my commitment. I've got that track record of getting those answers. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move to the fun part of the night, or at least it's going to be fun for me. We call this a rapid fire. So all of you will have these paddles that one side says yes, one side says no. I'm going to stand over here if that's okay, Jonathan. Sorry, Mike. I'm going to do this if that's okay. All right, guys. Okay, so I have a bunch of questions here. So this is how it's going to work. I'm going to ask you yes, no questions. They're based on local issues and some of the questions that have been pre-submitted. No discussion here. You answer with your paddles. We're going to do a test run here. Am I wearing a hat? Jessica. Okay, I think we can figure this out. We're going to move on. If we have time, I might probe you based on if I find some of the way that you guys vote interesting, but otherwise silent. Okay, so the first, and we have about 20 questions just to provide some context. First question is, do you support term limits for City of Toronto councillors? Okay. Specifically here, okay, next question. Specifically here in Scarborough Southwest, will you support the City of Toronto's plan to add 100 kilometers of paved bike lanes with protective curbs? Oh, this one seems like it's a difficult one. Okay. Number 3, when it comes to green space, if elected, would you work to ensure the West Scarborough Rail Trail is completed? Okay, we're unanimous there. All right. Some streets like St. Clair have a speed limit of 40 kilometers. Do you support reducing speed limits on arterial roads? Oh. Yes, so the question is, do you support reducing speed limits? So do you want it to be slower? Okay. Okay, yeah, well, reducing, whatever it is, if it's 50, reducing it, if it's 70, reducing it, whatever, either way. Arterial roads, yeah. Sorry, that wasn't meant to be that confusing, but obviously I wrote it wrong. Moving to housing issues, do you believe that rooming houses need to be licensed? Okay, we have one outlier. Next question. Do you currently live in Ward 20? It's okay, Jessica, you were upfront about it. Number 7, are there proposed developments in this one's going to be juicy. Are there proposed developments in Scarborough Southwest that you would work to stop? Okay, you're going to abstain from this one. That's an interesting strategy. Okay. Would you support the rezoning of industrial land to make way for more housing? This was on the news this morning. It's also known as employment land. Okay. Marzia, are you not voting on these? Okay. Do you believe that Ward 20 would be safer if the budget for Toronto Police was decreased and the money was allocated to other community support programs? Okay. Do you believe Ward 20 would be safer if the police budget was decreased and the money was reallocated? Okay. So remember, to other community support programs. Silence. Answer yes or no. Okay. So how did we vote on that? Did everybody vote on that? Yes, yes, no, no, no. Okay, so remember how you voted on that, because my next question is related. Do you believe that there are enough police officers in our community? You think there's too many. So then you would have voted that you reallocate funds, right? So that's why I said, remember how you voted. Okay. Next question. Will you bring supervised injection sites to the ward? Marzia, you're not participating in this part? No? Yes? Okay. Supervised injection sites. Okay. City Council recently voted to temporarily cap the number of rideshare licenses at current levels. Do you support this decision? So capping rideshare licenses. Okay. Here's a traffic question. Do you think traffic or road congestion is an issue in Scarborough Southwest? Okay. All right. But then who voted to reduce speeds? Okay. I'm not allowed to comment either. Okay. Sorry. I'm breaking my own rules. I apologize. Okay. As councillor, will you work to introduce more buses and bus lanes?
They're two different things.
I didn't, that. Okay. All right, fair. I'll ask that in 2 parts. Will you work to introduce more buses? What about bus lanes? Okay. Sorry. All right. Thank you. Do you regularly use transit? And what about specifically in Scarborough Southwest? Okay. Do you believe City Council has a role to play in reducing carbon emissions? Okay. Do you think, yeah, okay. We had a no, okay. Do you think natural gas for home heating should be phased out and more funds should be diverted to help residents transition to greener forms of energy? Oh, okay. Do you agree that property taxes need to be increased to address the city's financial crisis as a whole? Okay. what about, same question, do you agree that property taxes should be increased to fund low income and other poverty reducing programs? Yeah, so same question, except instead of addressing the financial crisis, do you believe that property taxes should be increased to fund low income and other poverty reducing programs? Okay. And last question, do you support continued funding for arts and culture in the municipal budget? All right. How are we doing for time? We're actually doing really well. So here's the twist. For the next session, you all get to choose one question you voted on. So out of the 20 plus questions I asked you guys, you get to choose one and you get to expand on, explain, change your mind based on all of the discussion. And you'll get a minute each, maybe a little bit more. So I think you went last. So do you want to go first? You get the first choice. Okay, so you get to choose one out of those 20 questions. Tell us which question you like and why what you want to talk about.
Okay. So I'll speak about the taxes. Okay. As much as there's a lot of discussion around taxes, whether that is when people compare Toronto to other cities, comparatively, people say we pay minimal in taxes, so on and so forth. My thing is when it comes to whether it is increasing or decreasing taxes, we need to step back as a city and see what have we been doing with the money that we've been, what have we been doing with the money that we have right now? And then from there, we need to make a clear decision as to whether or not we need to increase or we need to just stabilize the tax right now. When we look at other cities like Hamilton, for instance, they are paying like a lot in taxes, but yet look at the quality of like living in that specific neighborhood. So considering that Toronto, we are paying, I guess, relatively low in taxes compared to other cities, we're not seeing the benefits, we're not seeing where our taxes are going. The fact that
we're at
okay,
time, Jess.
but yeah, we just need to see what we are doing with the current budget right now, and then we can make like a better and fair assessment as to whether or not we should increase or decrease our taxes.
Okay, so to be fair, we'll go to a minute 30, okay?
No.
Yep, you get to tell us which question you want to talk about and what you're going to do with it. Are you going to explain, change, deny, all of that?
Yeah, change the line. Okay, actually, I would like to pick up that one, not changing the line. But one thing is that I would like to tell you, we need to think about the reality, what actually we are facing in the, those things. The transit, if we see it, we can see at the office time, if you make it, the bus lane separately, a lot of people are in the jam. It's the reality. So I don't know why actually, city made this plan for bus lane should be the separate from the other. So I don't actually totally understand that one. In the reality, it's making a huge traffic, because when I drive in the morning, when actually you go to the office, when actually you go to the, pick up the kids, when you want to go to the drop off your kids, you know the reality, what's actually happening, how actually they are doing and divided the bus lane separate from the others. I don't actually understand that one. So for this one, if I get elected as a city councilor, I'll definitely think about it. I'm more related to about the service. The service we are getting, we have a question about it. And thank you very much. My time is up. Thank you.
Thank you, Parthi.
To me, the most important question tonight was the property tax question. It's the ultimate and fundamental thing that a city government does. Who gets what vis-a-vis taxes? And remember carefully those who voted no to raise your property tax, because either A, they don't understand how municipal government works, or B, they're lying to you. In any scenario, they don't deserve your vote. I don't want to lie to you and say I'm not going to raise property tax, but it's the last resort that I'll have to support in the scenario that we can't find revenue tools through other mechanisms, We could introduce a hotel tax. Many leading world-class cities have that. We can look at increasing property tax on those who own 5, 6, 7 plus more properties. There's a way we can increase the land transfer tax for properties more than $3 million and even increase the property tax for properties more than $3 million. After exhausting all of these options, I remember the conversations at the doorstep last summer and this fall of hardworking, working class people who cannot handle a property tax increase. Fixed income folks with disability, seniors like my mom, who can't be able, I don't want to lie to you and say no to property tax. I want to tell you the truth, but I will fight and work hard to find other revenue tools and expenditures that are a waste. You've seen my flyer, $300 million for FIFA soccer, where the average ticket will be at least $1,000. Most Scarborough Southwest folks are not going to the FIFA tournament. So when you think wisely, vote for someone who won't lie to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Parthi. Marzia, do you want to participate in this? Yep. Tell us which question you're choosing to talk about.
Thank you, everyone. I will choose no tax increase. I'm not saying no tax. I'm just saying no increase. People are already suffering from after pandemic. People are suffering a lot for their houses, mortgage, small business, everything. A lot of business is closed, so they can't survive their life. And more tax, less spending on necessities, family suffers. Children get less opportunities, their extracurricular activities. Tax hike affects every aspect of our life, so I will oppose tax hikes and look for alternate source of funds like business, more establishments, improve tourism. Thank you.
This is Sumay Roy. I think everybody's tackling tax increase because that's one of the most controversial here out of many others. I think first of all, it was one of the, in my eyes, one of the hardest round because a lot of thing is not black and white. A lot of the questions were very gray. As for the tax increase, I did support because as Parthi mentioned, I'm going to echo that we don't have a choice. In many cases, we need revenue tools. We cannot cut our services. So that is why I supported yes. However, I'm a strong believer of it needs to be in moderation and all everything we need to do in our power to make sure the tax dollars are not being wasted. But since I still have time, I'm going to tackle another one quickly as I like to push boundaries. Sorry, is the dedicated cycling lane. I did vote no on that. It's not that I'm anti-bike lanes. I am certainly pro, but also for me, it is important to have proper consultation and the people who are living in that community needs to have their voice, whether they want it or not. It is not me to enforce on them. Thank you.
That was good.
So it's Kevin Rupasinghe. I think every single one of these is a far more complex conversation than just yes or no. It's fun. The paddles are a lot of fun. We had 20 questions, yes or no. That's actually a million different combinations. There's not a single person in this room. Like, I mean that literally. It is a million different combinations. Not one person in this room is going to agree with the exact order that I put those up. And I don't think anyone will actually remember what those questions actually were, exactly how they were worded and what they were intended. Cities are complex. They are incredibly complex. Every single one of these warrants a conversation, not about what's my opinion, but what is everybody else in our community think about. And there's got to be questions about trade-offs. Are you okay with speed limit staying 60 if you hit a red light every time? Or would you rather have 50 and it's synced together? Or when you talk about bus lanes, what's the point of putting a bus lane in if you cut out all your bus service and it just sits there empty? If a bus came every minute, would you feel a little bit better? When it comes to things like taxes, do we have to increase our property taxes to get out of the budget crisis? Or are we dealing with pennies on the dollar and we actually need to look at things like the commercial parking levy or a different deal with the provincial and federal government? Every single one of these, it's fun. These are actually really fun. I like them. But this isn't how you govern. This is not how I'm going to govern. You're never going to see me sit here with a paddle and just say yes, no, like you'll see the little council buttons. All of that's going to be informed by what you folks have to say. And after we've actually had some conversations, and I'll challenge you on some of your assertions, but I will listen to some of the things that you have to say too. So That's all I'll say for that.
Thanks, Kevin. The one thing that you all agreed on was traffic. So maybe I'll
you.
close that one. I'll let you have your time. I'm just gonna insert myself here. You all agreed that traffic was an issue in Ward 20. I'd love to hear from you after Walayat talks about what is one of your solutions to alleviating traffic in here. So you all have time to think about that. Walayat, we'll let you go and you can talk about the question that you want to.
Thank you
address.
very much. I believe we need more accountability in the government, especially the politician and the people sitting in the office. We pay the tax and they use our money to spend where they want it. If you compare to our person, if I go to somewhere to pay $50, if a city council go, they pay $350, the same room. That's what, there should be some accountability. There's no accountability in the local government. Not in local government, they spend your money, my money, just like they want it. So there is no accountability in the government effort. This is a very important. I was with the city hall. They don't care about your money. If you look at the private sector and the government, how much money they spend their own, they want to live in luxury. So that must be controlled.
You have 30 seconds.
So this must be controlled, this politician, how much money they spend like your own. Thank you.
Thank you. Last, Corey?
Sure. I'll do something different. I'm going to talk about the police and why I think there's too many police in Scarborough Southwest and across the city. The police budget continues to be increased year over year. We saw 2-3 years ago, summer 2021, police attacked homeless people, underhoused people in encampments downtown. I was there at a demonstration after the clearing at Lamport. I was attacked by police outside 14 Division. I was arrested and dragged to the courts for about a year. I got my charges dropped about a year and a half ago. Anyways, the police, what do the police do? They protect private property. When workers go on strike, when they demand better for themselves and for their communities, police are there to stand with private property, with corporations, with landlords. They evict people from homes, they throw them on the streets. Police are, that's their goal, that's their role in this city. That's their function. Yes, they deal with violent crime and other things, but the crisis is not when people pick up a gun and shoot someone. The crisis starts much earlier than that, when someone starts on that road, when they don't have the social supports, the community and the networks to have them have a healthy development. And they're driven to find other ways to make money than the legitimate ways that society allows. So I think I'm for the eventual abolition of the police. I think that we do need security in society, but it needs to be community led. It needs to be for the community. It needs to be for the working class, and not against them the way it is now. So that's what I'll leave it at that. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Thanks, Corey. So we're almost at time, but I saw a visceral reaction from a number of people in the audience when we talked about traffic, and you all agreed that traffic is an issue. So if any of you would like to comment on that, on how you think we can improve that or alleviate traffic and congestion in the ward, we'd love to hear from you. You have Mike? Yep. Kevin, you want to go next?
I think, as I described earlier, it's increasingly becoming a nightmare to get around our city. The city didn't consult us when they closed our access to the Gardiner on a whole host of transportation decisions. We're seeing now, just outside of our ward, but impacts us just as deeply, as the red lanes on Kennedy and Midland. It's created a nightmare. The city and the mayor had promised that the old Scarborough RT tracks would be resurfaced to create an actual expressway that's better for bus riders and better for drivers. As councillor, it'll be a priority to see that implemented, that campaign promise, which brought Scarborough for her and won the election, is fulfilled. I've got the experience and strong voice by uniting Scarborough trustees on a host of issues and as on the board. We're going to make that happen I've got the skill set to bring voices from across the spectrum. I've been endorsed by people from all parties because when we select a councillor, we're selecting a representative of the people, not a representative of a party. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin? Yeah.
Two mics, double mic. Come on, baby.
So, I mean, I'm lucky. I have a background in transportation engineering. The reality is, City of Toronto is growing. There's a finite amount of space, and we have too many cars on the road. And we have in Scarborough designed everything that we do around the car. The car is not going anywhere. People depend on the car. I depend on my car, right? But there's a lot of trips that people take that don't actually need to be done by a car. And the way that you get people to leave their car at home, you invest in a robust transit system. You make sure there are safe alternatives like walking, biking, riding a scooter, whatever it might be. So kids can get to school and so that you can go to the pharmacy or pick up your lunch while you're working from home and not having to get in your car and drive. Obviously, the car is not going anywhere. In Toronto, in Scarborough, we still have to accommodate people driving. We have to make sure that it's the right types of trips. And it's just a basic geometry problem. Like I'm lucky I've got a master's in transportation engineering, but you certainly don't need one to just realize the fewer cars that are on the road, the better off every one of us will be. And as our community changes and grows, there's an opportunity to make sure that, you know what, we don't have to have a grocery store 5 kilometers down the road. We can have one in the neighborhood, right? Or that there's a coffee shop or a childcare center or a new school. When's the last time we opened up a new school, right, in the area? These are the sorts of things that we can do, and transportation and land use are very intimately linked. You need a councillor who can actually help lead those conversations through, and that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
On a minute, okay. Thank you very much once again. The one thing actually I would like to address, the current mayor, actually, she assured us regarding the cycle lane. We need to think about it. The thing I would like to tell you, if you see in the neighborhood, lots of the time, emergency vehicle is stopped by the single lane. They cannot go faster. If you see that one in the reality, you will see it. So Olivia Chow, the current mayor, mentioned to us in Scarborough Southwest, she will remove those cycle lane. I'm not against to the cycle lane, but thing is that emergency, something's going on for our loved ones. So we actually may lose them due to this, traffic blockage, due to the emergency vehicle blockage. Why this is not, being taken attention, to the city representative? I don't understand. This need to be addressed very, very urgent basis, because some people may think I'm against the cycle lane, but I'm not. But we need to think about the feasibility. Is that the cycle lane is feasible for that, road or that street? That's the thing we need to think about it. Lot of the time, actually, I have seen, the ambulance, the fire truck, like horn like a crazy to make the, to go through the single lane. It is totally, I believe is, crucial for us to think about it. And, justifically, we need to, move back to this previous one. We have a 2 lane in the Danforth lane this way. So we have to go back to this, that place again. That's, if I go back to, as a councillor, I will think about it. Emergency vehicle should not be blocked. Emergency vehicle like fires or ambulance should not be like any bumped anywhere in the street. They need to be faster within 3 to 7 minutes, according to the nature of the incident. They have to be there. They have to be there to save the lives. So
Thank
that's
you.
about it. Thank you very much for listening.
No problem. We have a couple more minutes, so I don't know if there's any other comments on that. Yep. Yeah. So we'll go Corey, Suman, and okay.
Sure. So Corey David, just on traffic congestion in Scarborough, I agree with a lot of what Kevin said, that we need to develop alternatives to encourage people to not use the car. That's why we need dedicated bike lanes that are safe for cyclists, that can get them to where they need to, major hubs around Scarborough Southwest, and connect them to the rest of the city. That's also why we need dedicated bus lanes and increase bus service to meet the needs of Scarborough, so that people can get where they need to go. They're not constantly crowding onto buses. and they're not being motivated to go out and get a car or an additional car just to meet their needs because transit is so unreliable that it can't get them to where they need to go. As a streetcar operator, I see how terrible traffic is. I mean, it's not really in Scarborough. I only come to Victoria Park and Kingston Road once in a while on the 503. But across the city, congestion is a major issue, and we need to try and think about ways to better have traffic flow through Scarborough Southwest, whether that's setting up lights or having no left turns at certain times during rush hour or peak hours. There's all kinds of things. You could have pedestrian bridges over roadways. There's all kinds of ways that we could alleviate traffic in Scarborough Southwest, and we need to think about what we can do in the immediate. It's going to take a major intervention from possibly multiple levels of government to create sustainable transit in across the city, but in this riding. But there are ways that we can improve it right now. Anyways, so that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Corey. That was very thoughtful. Suman?
Thanks. It is a very, very multifaceted problem. And to be very short and quick, we need proper rezoning in whenever there's an opportunity to have walkable neighborhoods. Transit is a key factor, but also having neighborhood safety plan in more communities in our riding is really important. And for those who do not know, neighborhood safety plan is a pilot project from the City of Toronto. I actively advocated for our community and the Oak Ridge community, which is within our riding. We were very successful in last couple of weeks ago to get approved to be a neighborhood safety plan and to actually incorporate our various traffic measures as a part of that is eventually going to help us to be more reliant on safety and transit.
Okay, we're got about 2 minutes. So Jessica, we're going to let you close it off and then we'll open up to Q&A.
Hello? Okay, great. So a few things came to mind when it comes to transit. Well, for one, I'm someone that takes the bus regularly. As someone that lives in Agincourt neighborhood, it actually takes me about an hour to get down here from transit. And so it is very difficult to get around here. And obviously, when we look at Kingston Road, that traditionally was once Highway 2, once upon a time. And now with the increase in density that is proposed for that, for Kingston Road, transit is definitely going to be like a huge issue with the upcoming density. So a few things came to mind was one is having or bringing into place varied speeding limits at certain times. Of course, and this kind of goes into conflict that you were talking about, like having the 40 and then 30 or having 40 and 70, like it'll really vary depending on like major roads. So I think once we do like a better assessment of that, then I think that could help with some sort of that congestion. And then of course, making use of technology, right? Most of us are using, hopefully, Google Maps or your iPhones or whatever. Practically right now, we could use that as a way just to find more alternative routes to get around our neighborhoods quickly and more efficiently. So those are two things.
Thank you. And I can't believe it. We're actually on time. So we've built in about half an hour. We'll move to Q&A. We have to keep going. We're going to move to questions. Friendly gentleman right here, Jonathan, will be sort of triaging the questions that we have here in the room and then some that have been submitted online. We ask that you try and keep your question short, make it a question and not a speech. And what would be even better is if you phrase it as a yes or no question, and then everybody on the panel can answer. But otherwise, we will have Jonathan triage those, and if the question is directed at you, please be mindful that others may want to comment as well, and we'll try and limit the answers to about 1 minute, but we'll have to play it by ear. Right, Jonathan?
So there was some conversation online. Many of you submitted questions already, and they went into shaping what the questions that we've had here as well. We're not going to get to everyone's questions. There are going to be other candidate events in the weeks ahead. There will be another in-person one on the 23rd at Oak Ridge Community Center. So if we don't get to your question now, go and ask the candidate, first of all, and then also you can come to some of those events. So again, a reminder, if you sounds like you're making a speech and not asking a question, we're going to tell you and we're going to cut you off. So get right to a question and say who it is that you want the question addressed to. You might have a question to all, especially if it's a yes or no, or just a couple of the candidates. And I'm going to ask, I think what we're going to do is maybe take a first one and then have people line up here. Okay, you were first.
My question is thank you. My question is to Kevin, and it appears that there's no infrastructure here anymore for grocery stores, medical facilities, and other things that we need in all communities to make them a lovely, walkable community. And how would that be addressed?
It's a great question. So through a lot of my community advocacy work, I've had the chance to work in and out of City Hall as a community member. I've worked with basically everybody on City Council one way or another. I've seen the difference between the councillors who actually really know how to roll up their sleeves and do what's right for the community, and the ones who say that the easiest way to get reelected is to do nothing. That's certainly not what I have patience for. But what a good councillor can do is bring community members, city staff experts, developers, and others into a room and actually come up with a plan, because each developer is going to be looking at each of their own little sites, right? And if you are absent from those conversations, if we are absent from those conversations, they're going to do what's right for them, and that's it. But we can actually say, well, you know what, if you look at a corridor like Kingston Road, where do we want to add a library? Where do we want to add a grocery store? Where do we want to have the community center? Where do we have, do we want to have a park, a new park space that opens up? We can stitch some of that together. And especially in the areas where we have some larger projects, the city has what are called secondary plans that actually zoom in even more and don't just look at each individual site, but actually looks at how do you stitch it all together, because you need to have the infrastructure, both the physical and the social, to actually make a good city. And that's exactly what I'll be there to lead with. Thank you.
So one thing I forgot to note is one of the dynamics in the room is that people, and that's not saying that just happened, but just going ahead, we know that some of the candidates brought their supporters and will stand up and ask questions specifically for their candidate to speak. Let's try not to do that. Let's make this a chance to hear from all of the candidates. We'll watch to see if that's happening.
Gloria, again, once I don't need the microphone.
The people online do.
Well, does anybody need me to use the microphone?
The people online need to.
Let me ask my question. Corey, in this place that you envision with no police, what do you do when Machete Joe comes on Thursday, Billy Bob Joe comes with a gun on Tuesday, and each day somebody else demands money from you? Who do you call? Ghostbusters?
Sure.
Okay, so
Sure, I'll take the question. So I do envision a world without police, without coercion. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow. I don't think it's going to happen next month, next year, or whatever. And even if I was elected to city council, look at the appetite on city council to defund the police. They can't even defund it 10%. They're not even looking at that. But in terms of security, in terms of violent crime or other crimes, the working class communities should be defending themselves. We used to have neighborhood watches. We used to have community consultation. We can do those things. We have martial arts studios all around. We can involve the community. This is a long-term thing. This is not something that I'm proposing for tomorrow or the next day, but this is a long-term thing to do. The police, as I mentioned, have a role in society, and it is not the protection of people. Otherwise, they would be helping people on the streets. They would not be attacking them. So that is what I have to say about the police and about what it's going to look like tomorrow. I will not support any budget for the police. I will not give money to the people that attack workers and attack marginalized people. I'm just not going to do it. Other people can have it. If they want to defund the police, I'll clap for them and say that I support you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think what we're going to do is on any question, especially if it's directed just at one person, that one or two other candidates, if they like, can speak briefly to the question.
try and get through as many questions.
Briefly.
Trevor, good question. It requires a lot of complexity to answer because in a binary format, choosing whether you're going to decrease the budget or not, or defund the police, it's so loaded. And it's very important that we bring a complexity, nuance, and compassion to recognize that, yes, there are instances where we have failings, and this is across the sector in so many jurisdictions. But that doesn't mean we throw the baby without the bathwater. When I was trustee, when I came in 2014, it was appalling, the employment equity results for our board, for their staff, teaching staff or principals. And we moved the needle on that. And that's something we need to do with police. The reality is we're seeing historic surge in immigration. We need to maintain a ratio in terms of police officers to citizens. And in fact, in North America, we have one of the lowest ratios in terms of number of police officers, or rather highest ratio, number of police officers to the population. So that's one of the things I know. I have very socially minded friends who've asked why police, but that's the context.
I'm good. Yeah. Sumay Roy, I want to answer both the questions very quickly. One, we cannot defund the police unless we actually invest in services and programs. Once we do that, then we can talk about defunding the police, not before that. And second of all, the previous question, I'm going to take 10 seconds to answer that as well. I think what we really needed to do, and I've demonstrated when Sun Valley closed, I was out there talking about figuring out how we can get a grocery store in that place. We unfortunately saw that when the new development is going in, they have 400 some square meters of market for retail space, which is kind of a nail salon, literally, if you think. But with a few community members here, we negotiated, and so far we were able to get almost double the amount of space. So this is just what we did in the last couple of months. So given being the next councillor, we need to be on the table. We need to be ready to negotiate.
Okay, next question, please.
Yes, my name is Misha, Danforth Gardens Neighborhood Association. And my question is to everyone, how long have you lived in the ward? And what's one concrete accomplishment you've achieved while you've lived here?
Oh,
Very quick.
come on, that's too much.
All right. Okay, how long have you lived in the ward?
Okay.
Sure. I've lived in the ward for about 22 years of my 34 years on this planet. The rest of it's been downtown Toronto.
Thank you very much. My name is Khan Walayat. I live in next to LCBU. If you go to LCBU, you know LCBU? Just beside their LCBU. I built a garage there. When Corona come, I built a garage myself because there's no work. So I lived in 6 years. Okay, I live in all my life in East End. I live in Main and Danforth. I built a house on Barrington, 80 Barrington, Seacourt School. My all children come here.
Okay, this was to be
Thank
quick.
you.
Next.
Kevin Rupasinghe, I've lived here in Toronto for most of my life. I lived in Scarborough Southwest for the better part of 3 years. I'll probably be here for the better part of the next 3 decades. And that's exactly what I'm leading for, just to thinking about the future.
Thank you. I immigrated here 22 years ago in this riding with literally $42 in my pocket, went away for 3 years, but for the last 8 years, we are back in this riding.
I'm living this riding 14 years. Thank you.
25 years.
Actually, I'm also the immigrant. I migrated from Australia 2008. Since then, I'm in this community. That's about it. Thank you.
I clearly am the unique one here. So believe it or not, I used to live at Birchmount, Eglinton for a few years up until like grade 2. And then I moved to another part of Scarborough, or in Park and Lawrence, for another few years. So I've lived in different parts of Scarborough at different times. But in terms of accomplishments, when I'm in elementary school, I don't think I can accomplish much, but hopefully I can.
We actually said we would just keep it at how long.
Yeah, that's it.
lived.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right.
Next question, please.
So is this okay?
Yep.
Hi, okay. Affordability is obviously a big conversational topic that's come up a lot tonight because it affects literally everyone in this room. But most of this conversation is kind of centered around, I want to say, the comfortably housed. I would like to know, as counselors, especially because winter is coming, how would you advocate for our unhoused neighbors in Scarborough Southwest and throughout the city?
Sorry, miss, was that for someone specific or just any 2 or 3?
I mean,
Pick 2 and let's make sure we've got voices that haven't been heard, but yeah.
maybe I guess I'll want to hear from Jessica and Suman, who's.
Great question. Really very important. We have already seen that the city council, I think today, has approved to open up the winter shelters. And this is the first step. If I was on council today, I would have 100% supported that. But I also understand the modular housing program, which has been a really good concept, but the execution might need a little better. At Levin Massey, which is right in our riding, we had the first modular housing project, which unfortunately I think could have done a lot better. So programs like that.
Jessica?
Hello. Sorry, can you rephrase the question one more time about affordability?
Well, essentially just how would you advocate and support our unhoused neighbors in the community and all over the city?
Right. So believe it or not, I am an affordable housing organizer in the west end of the city. So I actually work with tenants one-on-one, especially those that are being displaced right now with the new condo developments, helping them, even referring them to other nonprofits that are doing the work to help them with their displacements. A lot of people don't even know their rights in relations to the landlords, and even with community housing, like how do they navigate like their housing situations. So I have, oh, sorry, one time's up, but I have practical experience in terms of that. So yeah.
Great, thank you. Be great if we have some yes, no questions. We have to use those paddles again. Next question. You don't have to do yes, no, but.
Hi, my name is Ingrid Sheriff. I'm a new resident of Scarborough Southwest, but I used to live in Beaches, East York. My building was very, very old. So I used to live at Woodbine and Gerard, but I am no stranger to Scarborough, okay? My grandmother lived in Scarborough. I have so many memories of Scarborough, but a lot of my relatives still do live in Scarborough Southwest. Anyway, El Dorado and Clemson.
Question, please.
Okay, can I ask Parthi, where do you stand on artificial fluoridation? And if elected in the upcoming budget, like Kevin said, in 90 days or, you know, coming up for next year, the city budget, would you look at eliminating artificial fluoridation to save money? Or any other comments regarding that? Thank you.
So I'll be honest, I know very little about this topic, but recently someone actually asked me this question at the doorstep, and I came home and I asked my wife, what do you know about fluorination in tap water? Because City of Toronto tap water has fluoride in it. And she said, well, for our daughter's toothpaste, there's a sign that says no fluoride in it, right? So that got me thinking that there's likely is some science behind that concern if a corporate a toddler toothpaste maker is advertising that. So that's something I would study, reflect on, look at the data, talk to senior staff at the city, see what the position is, and talk to, of course, critical thinking scientists and hear their perspective, engage the room to see what the appetite is for, and lead at least public information sessions.
Thank you.
And it allows residents to delegate at city council to have their voice heard.
Next question, please.
Hi, my name is Giri from Scarborough. I really get, my question is, I would say, let me give some context. There's no neutrality in justice. Today in our community right now, Islamic community is going through an outrage because of what's happening to their brothers, sisters, and children in Palestine. They're subject to genocide by the apartheid state. And we are all watching right now. They're looking for your leadership. What are you going to tell them right now? You have to take a position. Are you going to stand with humanity and save those children? Or are you going to stay complicit? You don't have to answer if you don't have it prepared. But I really insist you to speak right now because they're dying in front of us.
Who would like to answer that? Let's have a couple. You want the far end and then. Yep.
I would like to answer this question. My name is MD Mamun. So thing is that the situation is crucial down there. So first thing is that we need to stop it. No matter the reason is, they need to be stopped. Second thing is that go back to the table. The world leaders and other people from the community, humanitarian organization talk on the table. Then decide what actually will be the future plan. Every day, both sides, people are being killed. So need to be stopped. First thing is that period stop. Then think about, later on the table. That's about my things. Thank you.
Sure, yeah. Sorry.
It's Marzia Hoque. I will say the first thing is stop this genocide. Stop killing the women and children. What about the war issues? They can talk at the table, they can take a decision. But the first thing is stop the killing. Thank you.
Free the hostages.
Okay, we're gonna try and keep
Yeah, free all the hostages, though. All the Palestinian hostages that are being held in Israel. There's been 75 years of ethnic cleansing that Israel has committed against Palestine. 75 years, backed up by US imperialism, Canadian imperialism, backed up by a massive empire. It's a fortress in the Middle East. The US used it to attack Iraq. They used it to attack Afghanistan. They used it to attack Libya. Israel is an apartheid state. It is run by a racist government. It has been for a long time. Go ahead. Look.
This kind of full of shit, man.
Sure.
Actually, if we could keep it to what you could do as a counselor.
Sure. I would advocate for solidarity with Palestine. Olivia Chow condemned support Palestinian protesters when they demonstrated in the street in tens of thousands. She condemned them. She asked the police to watch them for hate speech in the middle of a genocide, in the middle of a giant airstrike. So Toronto's got to extend solidarity with oppressed people around the world. We should be internationalist. We should be for the oppressed, not for the oppressor, and that's where we should stand. I'll leave it at that.
My name is Ashraf Ali, and I live in Scarborough since 2000. So many years. My question is, and I'm a senior citizen. Today in the discussion and all the newspapers that I have read, there is no mention of the senior citizens, what the people are going to do, the candidates. I'm wondering why. So, and also in the room, there are many senior citizens. I felt like we are invisible. Why so?
Well, I'll quickly talk to that and say that you're not invisible. I actually have family members that are seniors in this riding that are actually being displaced as we speak. And one of the things that I'm actively doing right now is figuring out, okay, well, how can I even help them with housing? Because there is nothing really in place to support seniors that are on a fixed income that need the support like right away. So as your elected city councillor, hopefully, seniors will also be on my mind because it is also close to home for me, as well as the city does actually have like a senior plan. However, they're not implementing it, right? So again, we need someone in leadership that can do the work. There is strategies in place, but it needs to be executed.
Who else? We haven't. Yeah, let's do that. We've got 4 more questions and we've got about 5 minutes left. So let's quickly go through these 4 questions. So next question, please.
My name's Peter, and I'd like this question to go to Corey, Kevin, Parthi, or Sumay. It concerns the Eglinton LRT and the Finch West LRT. Olivia Chow says that if the province is not willing to properly fund, she will upload it. I want to ask that the candidates commit to keeping the Finch LRT and the Eglinton LRT public. Will you commit to keeping it public and not sold off to P3s or to the upload to the province, and also create greater accountability?
That's a great yes/no question. So the first part, just did we use your paddles, please? Yeah. And so the first part of your question was, will you keep it public? Yes or no? Great, thank you. Good question to ask at the door. Next question.
Great. Hello, my name is Ian. I live just up the street in Birchcliff Heights. Father of 2 young kids. I'm really concerned about their future for a couple of reasons. One, the scourge of violence on our streets. We've had in the past month 2 people seriously injured within 2 kilometers from here on Kingston Road. So for those that have said they wouldn't reduce speeds on arterial roads, they wouldn't support bike lanes, nor would they support bus rapid transit lanes, what are you going to do to reduce the carnage on our streets? particularly on our arterial streets, which is where the carnage is happening.
Right,
Thank
so
you.
people who said no to those things, maybe a couple people answer. Very briefly, what would you do? Parthi?
Stand up. Anybody else? We got one more. Let's do this one.
Okay, I'll be quick. As a school trustee, we worked with parent councils to address the alarming concern about road safety around school zones. We've tried a host of things. We saw signage, we saw the small please slow down signs. Nothing changes behavior than digging people in the wallet. Putting speed cameras in is a way to bring in revenue and to change behavior. And lastly, we see terrible inconsistency with the city. It's been 25 years since amalgamation. West of Vic Park, we see speed bumps galore. East, we hardly see any. So that inconsistency needs to be addressed with a strong voice.
One more person.
Do I? Okay. So a couple of things. I said no to most of that, Ian. And one of the major reasons is not that I think these are all bad ideas, but I strongly am going to repeat myself by saying that the community needs to be consulted before any of this is done. And that is something that is key to my heart. And if community wants them, I am all in for them. And consulting the community is the right way to go in my mind.
Okay, next question, please.
Yeah, hi, my name is Mohammed Ali Bukhari. I am a former resident, and this is from the media perspective. This election will not take place because this is happening due to former earlier councillor Gary Crawford resigned.
So very quickly, very short question, please.
The city this election, and he got a severance pay, $120,000. So this is very disservice. So I like to hear from Parthi, Kevin, Walayat, and Shuman that how much you are committed for your term to serve for the people of Scarborough Southwest.
Do you want to answer? Okay, you have 1 minute.
Thank you very much for your question. Yes, I hear that it's in the newspaper that Gary Crawford didn't resign he waited for 10 days to get the full severance pack. Why the city council gets severance pack in the full pay? You know how much there is? Got that one? It's $10,000 per month. I'm senior citizen. I got a $2,200 my pension. The city council then they retired the pollinator. They got a $10,000. That had to be stopped. This is our money. I got $2,200 as a senior citizen. The city councilor,
thank you,
or member of parliament, got $10,000. That's very much. Thank you.
Right, we've got one more person on that. Yep.
Did we want all four or no? Oh, sure. I mean, absolutely, I'm committed to this role. When I ran for this seat last year, I quit my job and I ran, didn't have an income for 9 months because these issues matter. These issues really matter. And my future in this community, my family's future in this community, our community's future, it matters. I didn't expect to be here 1 year later. Obviously, none of us did. And yet here we are. And in between those elections, I didn't actually, to me, the issues are what matter. And in between these elections, I still made sure I stood up for our community and pushed forward on these issues. My commitment is unwavering. I would never do what our former councillor did.
Good. Very quickly, so this is going to be the question that makes up everybody's mind, who they're going to vote for. This is the last question.
My name is Steve DeCambra with the Danforth Gardens Neighborhood Association. If you couldn't vote for yourself, and this is to all candidates, which other candidate would you vote for?
I knew it.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't vote for myself. I'd probably vote for Kevin. I will vote for myself. I have 25 votes my family. Thank you very much. I can't do, 25 or somebody else. Thank you.
If I couldn't vote for myself, I've had the pleasure of working with Suman for quite some time and probably vote for him.
Thanks, and it's reciprocal. If it wasn't me, it would be Kevin.
If I can vote, I will vote Parthi. Thank you.
It's a very good question. I would vote for Jessica. I think her personality and her lived experience matter. And I got a true sense of honesty and warmth is what we need as next city councillor. Thank you.
I believe I'm competent. I think about myself first. I'm gonna go for me first. If it is not, so this very simple thing is that it is my answer. Yeah, second person, actually, I don't have anything in my second person in my mind. Thank you.
My goodness. Oh, that's a really tough question because a lot of the candidates here come with a lot of like great experiences. And you know what, since I left this backpacking that's going on, Parthi for sure will be my runner-up. No, but Parthi for sure. So when I might park, if I have time. So, oh, okay, well, you guys can talk to me later, but
Yeah.
Parthi's amazing.
You know what, that's what I'm gonna just remind everybody, we're gonna have to call it there because they're gonna have to clean up the room, but a number of the candidates have agreed to stay back after. So if you have any specific or additional questions, feel free to approach them after that. So I want to thank all of you and everyone online for, spending your evening with us. I want to give another round of applause for all of the volunteers who made tonight happen. Okay, yep. And then, of course, to all the candidates, thank you all for the great and lively conversation. Thank you, thank you. To our friends online, we're going to be disconnecting the Zoom call shortly, but I believe a recording of tonight's event will be posted, so stay tuned for that. 100 people online. Hi, friends. So with that, we'll now conclude this event. Have a good night, everybody. Safe travels, and please remember to vote.
And thanks to you.